Many of you remember the name Herman Wouk, who was a famous author, and there are several films that were quite famous that came originally from his pen. His son is here today. His son is going to make some remarks to us about his experience with low-dose naltrexone. Joseph Wouk. See.
Document was a document that I prepared together with Dr. Gluck and with the help of Dr. Bahari to try and convince 60 Minutes to do a piece about this issue, low-dose naltrexone, and why it has not come to the forefront. Take a look around you in this room. Why aren't people hanging from the rafters? It's unbelievable to me that 20 years after Dr. Bahari discovered the effects on AIDS and then how it spread on to all these other diseases, that it's still completely an unknown thing, essentially, for most people. I'm sure you haven't had a chance to read over the piece I submitted to 60 Minutes, but when you do, you'll get an idea of what I think is the reason and what possibilities there are for what we can do to change that. That's my website up there, sclerotics.info, but in fact, you get to it by typing in scleroticswordpress.com. On it, in addition to various links to various places, is the first 22 or 23 chapters of my book. The book, I started writing it about a month after I was first diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which was 11 months ago. I've been suffering from this disease for 7 years, but it was only recently diagnosed. It started off with optic neuritis, and then they did a scan, didn't find any lesions, and said, you sometimes just get optic neuritis. The neurologist did not warn me what other possible symptoms to look out for that might indicate that it was indeed multiple sclerosis. So 2 years later, I found myself at the urologist, sure that I had prostate cancer because of the peeing, and et cetera, et cetera. The classic multiple sclerosis symptoms developed and got worse and worse. The worst part being the cognitive effects. When I was finally diagnosed, because my left arm went completely dead, the doctor at the time, the same doctor who had, by the way, neglected to tell me what to look for, believed that in fact my dead arm, even though I was showing lesions, was not being caused by the MS, but was being caused by spinal atrophy, compression inside my neck. And you take a look at the MRI, it's pretty scary, it's down to 1/3 the size, and they wanted to do an operation on me. I don't do well in operations. I was really scared of that. And so I decided that I would go and find the #1 MS specialist on the West Coast, and if he told me that my dead arm wasn't caused by the MS, that I would then go ahead and have the operation. Give me 1 sec here to fix this because it should be in a different mode. I want to read to you a short section from the book that I am planning on publishing before Christmas. By the way, the book was initially called Placebo, A Rationalist Seeks a Miracle Cure. And the reason was that I was told when you have progressive MS, there's no FDA treatment. So what are you going to do? What's a Western rational man supposed to do when he's told that there's no hope by Western science? Well, I came up with an idea. I was going to go to Peru and go to a shaman and do an ayahuasca, try and do an ayahuasca cure. Well, it's helped people with cancer, and I met a few of them, who had their cancers essentially eliminated by it. One nutty woman online I didn't really trust her, said that it helped her MS, but I figured what else did I have to lose? So the book was initially a philosophic and scientific review of why it would be that a rational man like myself would subject himself to a witch doctor's treatment down in Peru. Placebo, a rationalist seeks a miracle cure. Well, that's the name of the first half of the book. The second half of the book is called Miracle Cure Found, LDN. And the title of the book is what you see in front of you. That. Google LDN. Now, I've got to get to my section here that I've got to read to you. So I've got to, there it is. Fine. The reason oh, now you're looking at my thing. It doesn't matter. You can read along with me. The reason I changed the title to Google LDN should be obvious to everybody. Nobody knows about this treatment. Every day I meet somebody who I can tell about it that it's going to save their life or make their life that much better. In my case, the most horrendous symptoms imaginable, all gone within 3 months. And I'll read to you a little bit from my book about that experience. I began researching to find, I was looking for this #1 doctor on the West Coast to make sure that I really needed the operation because I was scared of having this operation. I began researching to find this mythical #1 specialist on the West Coast. It didn't take that long to find him. Here's the listing for him at UCSF. Douglas Gooden, MD, Medical Director, Multiple Sclerosis Center. I'm sure many of you have heard of him. I noticed in a little side box on the website a mention that a, quote, patient-funded study had been done on the effects of LDN on multiple sclerosis. In the box it said that the study had been completed, but it had no mention of the results. I made a mental note of it to ask Gooden what the results had been and thought no more about it. When I got in to see Gooden, a few days before the scheduled operation, I asked him, if you tell me my dead arm couldn't be caused by the MS, I'll have the operation. I can't tell you that, he replied. In fact, I think it is being caused by the MS. Well, what about having no reflexes instead of hyperreflexes? He answered that though hyperreflexes are usually the case, MS can sometimes cause no reflexes as well. Utterly relieved, I canceled the operation. I also noted to myself what makes an expert. Experts note all the exceptions to the rule, as well as the rule. I forgot. Sorry, one sec. Why isn't it going down? Give me a sec. Apologies. I forgot to ask about the LDN box on the website, as it was decided that I should begin on the Copaxone. In April, a little more than 2 months later, I began to panic after the major cognitive problems began to emerge. I also decided I had to give up on the Copaxone because of the horrible reactions I was having at every injection site.